go to the movies to see stories, and I just get to ask people on the street what their stories are. I run a project called Souls in San Francisco. I do street photography, and I walk around and get to know people, listen to their stories, and make a post about it.
I like being fabulous. I like wearing purple. I like being a multicolored bird.
I'm a little sad. I'm from New York, and it was Derek Jeter's last game.
After high school, my dad gave me a couple of options. I could go to college to be a firefighter.
So I was,
or I could go
I was
to work.
kidnapped
My girlfriend
a couple years
pulled
ago,
over in bed and
and I
said,
was
What's the secret to having a relationship that can last for 30 years?
a few days ago. Here.
Can you just stand in like the middle here? And then look right here.
Sorry, I'm not the most photogenic. It's super awkward.
You look great.
Thank you.
How are you trying to make the world a better place?
I feel like I try my best to understand people. And I feel like if we all did that more often, we'd probably see a lot more positive in the world. Someone told me once that if you knew like everybody's story, you would probably like everybody.
Developing deeper empathy is really
exactly.
important. Yeah, I think we have similar viewpoints in the world, and that's why I'm doing this project.
Nice.
You know, because infinitely curious about people, and I feel like there's always something to learn, and everyone that you cross paths with is there to kind of teach you something.
Yeah.
It's like for a reason. Doing this project, it's been super rewarding, and there's also been plenty of times where I didn't want to do it anymore. I feel really grateful that I've stuck with it because it's definitely been like the cornerstone of my life for the last 4 years. And there's certain things that you learn from being devoted to something that you can't learn any other way, I think. My style is really conveying what I see through my eyes. I feel like it's a transmission of my consciousness. So if you look at images that I took when I started the project, there was less light, like everywhere, and the images were more contrasty, you know? And now I feel like there's just more light in general, and there's more light coming out of people's eyes. And I feel like this whole process has made me more consciousness, and that's the way I experience the world. I'm more aware and more sensitive. There's a lot of upheaval and turmoil in our world right now, from school shootings to Black people getting murdered to the Syrian crisis. And what I feel like the main problem in those situations is lack of empathy and compassion. And they see the people in those situations as not them, like it's something that's happening to someone else, and those others are different than me. They just don't connect to the other people's pain and suffering or experience. So what Souls is trying to do is connect people to each other and just get people to have a shared experience. Everything that we do affects everyone else, not just your actions, but your thoughts and intentions. And I think that is really exemplified in the post, the way you can have one person being really uplifting and how that sends out a wave of positive energy throughout the soul community, or vice versa. When some people are struggling, and what energy that sends out. We are constantly inundated with messaging about what our reality is, and that reinforces our reality. And then you get caught inside of this box where you only see the world from one perspective. And you know, it's really important to take in all perspectives and evaluate them for yourself, because the more perspectives you hear, the more you have the ability to make up your own mind about what seems true to you. At the deepest level, I feel like we're very, you know, we're good, we're inherently good. So if you just connect and look someone in the eyes and communicate, everything will work itself out. You want to take a picture?
I'm good.
All right, man. Hey, excuse me. Hey, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Pretty good. I'm doing a storytelling project in the city.
Okay.
You want to take a picture?
Sure.
All right. All right, hold on. I try to post little captions with the pictures.
Okay.
Can you describe like one of your happiest memories in the Bay?
I remember when I first moved here, and I was like, I had a motorcycle, and I was coming over the bridge, and I popped out of the tunnel, and I just like looked over, and there's the city. It was just like beautiful, and I was really just excited to be here.
What about like one of the more challenging memories or situations since you've been here, and like what that situation taught you?
I just went through it like a tough breakup or whatever, and it was just like kind of like, you know, what am I doing with my life? And it was pretty hard, and at the end, you know, I just decided I'm gonna just change everything in my life, and like went through and you know, changed everything, and now I'm changing careers and like still going with that. So,
yeah, that all stemmed from that breakup.
Mm-hmm.
So you sound like maybe you're romantic like I am.
A little bit.
Sensitive soul.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to go really down to bounce back. So,
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so it's a great thing. I'm really grateful it happened.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I can give you a card for the project.
Yeah, that'd be
Check out.
great. All right.
All right, have a great
Good luck
day.
with everything.
I think it's really important to do these rituals because it positively charges my energy. And that's essentially what people are reacting to when they first see you, right? It's just the vibe they're feeling your presence. So when they make eye contact and I'm smiling and I'm just like, hi, you know, they can just feel at ease and that it's a safe place to do whatever is about to happen.
There's more to life than just the material aspect of things, you know? There's an unseen nature that's much larger than what we can tangibly feel and experience.
When I'm taking pictures of people in the street, it's not really about taking pictures. It's about connecting with the people and giving them positive energy that I've cultivated.
Dijon, nice to meet you. I'm doing a street photography project, and I was hoping I could take a picture of you guys.
Okay.
All right, hold on. Right here?
Yeah, I was looking in the mirror the other day. I feel happy, but my eyes, they get a sad look, you know what I mean?
You think so?
Yeah.
Your eyes don't look so sad to me. They look pretty bright.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I woke up today.
pretty intoxicating. You get to walk around and you never know who you're gonna run into or what stories you're gonna come across. And I feel like people want to live in a place like San Francisco or any metropolis because of the culture and the diversity. So being able to like tap into that that flow of energy is a rush. Ready? It's a good looking shot right there. Ready for this one? I gotcha. One picture will be a full body and one will be a close-up. Face this way.
I connect with one person and then I post it online and then their friends reconnect with them because they see the light and the beauty in that person, and people from all over the world are connected with this person they never even met before and have a sense of compassion and empathy. So we're just constantly expanding like our network of kind of love and openness. My purpose is to continue making this community as big as possible.
Looking good? I like you guys.
Hey, Leslie, thank you very much.
Listen to what your heart is kind of telling you to do, because a lot of times we go against it in fear that you might, be judged for it. It's mostly just staying true to yourself. I'm Scott Cameron. I was born and raised in Salem, Oregon. This past summer, I went on a little bit over a 2-month road trip, just me, myself, and my car, to kind of put myself into a challenging environment and find out what's inside of my heart. I was working for my dad's collection agency, and it wasn't where I wanted to be, ever. It's hard to explain or even talk about now, like what I was feeling, but it was just feeling stuck, feeling like I had no one to talk to. I guess a little bit of not knowing what to do next with my life, and those were really scary. My coworker one day suggested Souls of Society, and I checked it out and just fell in love with it. I would just see all of his pictures every day, just getting inspired by him. I just kind of woke up and was like, whoa, I can do what I want to do. I quit my job, then I cruised down Highway 101 so I could be with my own thoughts and really find out, who I am. As I was coming to San Francisco, in the back of my head, I was like, hey, that's where Dijon is, Souls of Society. That'd be crazy if I ran into him. It was just a thought in the back of my mind. I'm at Fisherman's Wharf, and I walk around a corner, and I see this guy with a professional camera, and it clicked. Seems like that could be the guy from Souls of Society. I was just like instantly hit with butterflies and adrenaline, super stoked. I took out my phone, took some Snapchats of him and sent to my coworker. I went up to him, I was like, Souls of Society? And he turned around, looked pretty surprised and said, yeah. I told him about my road trip and how, his page definitely was an inspiration to me and how I wanted to possibly run into him on my road trip. He kind of looked at me and told me, you're living in your heart space now. You're gonna start meeting people on the same wavelength as you. And look, you thought about meeting me here in San Francisco, and it happened. And that just kind of, I don't wanna say blew my mind, but it did. He decided to take a photo of me and interview me. So that was definitely an honor. I ended up posting about what he had told me on Facebook because it was super inspirational. And that kind of led me into starting my own blog, which is something I've always wanted to do. I was trying to think of a name to use, and I was kind of struggling with that. And then I just thought of the quote that Dijon told me that really stuck out. So I named my blog Life in the Heart Space. Through Souls of Society and my picture being on the page, I actually ended up making a new friend, soulmate. A girl from New York, her name's Allison, saw my picture, added me on Snapchat, and kind of started talking, and we ended up meeting up in Portland. I did change as a person from my road trip. I gained a lot of confidence to follow my heart and be me. So I feel like I am a lot stronger. I have a really funny side, and then I also have this really like deep, empathetic side, and I guess I'm just more confident in being myself. Just saying it, it's so simple. Go after things that make you happy, but it takes a lot of courage, and it's scary. Following your heart is gonna make you happy, and it affects everyone around you.
Who do you think was the biggest influence on your personality developing the way it has?
My mom. She read me books like The Odyssey and Lord of the Rings when I was really little. I saw a lot of magic and epic qualities in the world. That magic was very much a part of me until high school, when we all sort of lose some magic. And then returning to that experience of feeling like there's magic in the world has been a really major blessing of my adult life.
And what do you think it was that allowed you to return to the magical perspective?
A number of things. For one, Burning Man. Having the courage to be myself completely and to find the magic in manifesting a world around me.
I'm gonna take another picture. Okay. Oh, that's dope shit right there.
The one you did last time was so good for me.
So good?
Yeah, it was so good because the feedback was so nice. It was a very public, like, I'm this way. Every single comment was super supportive. Should I be serious? Should I post? I've been doing a lot of blue steel lately. I've been like doing like the pursed lips thing.
You do you. To me, art is the most valuable thing. It works with people on an emotional level. The mind explains the emotions, but people react based on their like gut feelings, you know, and that's what art speaks to. As an artist, I feel like you're channeling higher vibrational energy, and the measure of how good of an artist you are is how relatable you make that energy, right? So, like when you listen to Bob Marley, he's like, "Can you hear me? Hear what I say?" It's this multi-dimensional thing. You're like, yes, I hear you. And that kind of makes my body tingle, and I understand that there's like way more being communicated than just like a literal, can you hear me? You know, it's like, do you get what this is about, right? And like, that's what I'm trying to do. And I feel like people get it. Like they get what Souls of San Francisco is, and they're actively participating in it and helping to like grow the energy.
Dijon and I have known each other since we were children. I do remember him talking about the idea for Souls of San Francisco, and I remember very vividly the enthusiasm with which he talked about his idea. So I'm not surprised to see that it's still going and that it's thriving.
He was a regular at the park, and I'm a regular at the park. I sell cookies out of a basket, and he was pretty interested in my story.
One evening we met up to kind of talk something out and get some barbecue down at 4505 on Divisadero.
He comes up with this super colorful, amazing sweater, and he's like this tall. I'm like looking up to him when he talks.
I remember thinking like, this is gonna be a fierce photograph.
I'm dressed up, top hat, big cloak. I'm leaving a store in Divisadero, crossing the street, and a guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, can I take your photo?"
And my natural reaction is just, really? Today's the day you're gonna take my picture after we eat barbecue and I'm in sweats? And he's just like, hell yeah, it is.
And I'm like, I'm on my way to work, but sure. And he's like, what do you do for work? And I was like, well, I read cards, I read tarot, and I'm about to go work an event. And I think he was a little surprised by that. And I was surprised at his interest, not just in the image of what he wanted to take in that moment, but also what I was doing. Like, why was I dressed this way? What was my story? And that was new. I'm used to people wanting to take my photo, but I'm not used to people scraping the surface to find out what I made up beneath that.
I had met up with Abe beforehand, and we just started dating maybe like a week or two before. And when we showed up to the park and he saw the two of us, he's like, quickly changed his mind. He's like, hold on, I want to photograph you two together.
When he had his camera ready, it was actually getting really cold. The wind was picking up, the fog was coming in, and I was kind of ready to go. But it was a very natural exchange. He asked me a few questions about my history, why I was here.
It was so easy for me to open up to him because he had this essence about him, and it was easy to talk to him, and it made me want to tell him more.
He really pulls you in and makes you feel really comfortable. He's very inviting.
I was gushing from happiness.
I felt like I could be open and vulnerable.
And I just couldn't stop smiling.
It actually helped keep me going as far as selling cookies at the park, because it seems kind of ridiculous at times, but it takes reminders that you really enjoy what you're doing, and you make a positive impact.
There were, I don't know how many, but like over 1,000 people who interacted with the photo in some capacity, whether they liked it or they made a comment on it.
People were coming up to me from all different parts of the city when I was doing my work and saying, oh, I saw you on Souls of San Francisco.
I was actually a little scared. I didn't know. We had shared some things about our relationships in the beginning, and at first I thought, oh, people are gonna think this is lame, or they're gonna think it's so cheesy, but the feedback was actually really beautiful.
And it was just flooded with so much love from strangers all over the world, from friends who reached out, and I was really touched.
I remember he was asking me questions about food, and it was really interesting to be able to talk about stone fruit and then recognize that there are people thousands of miles away who are reading about this and imagining what something tasted like that they'd never had before. I really got a big kick out of that.
To me, it was really nice to be recognized as another soul, as I think we all want to be recognized.
Perspective to me is it's everything. Anything you think about, you can give yourself space to say, how might I look at this differently? That can kind of change your whole life. My name's Alex. I would describe myself as a very sensitive, deep, loyal, sweet individual. My favorite activity in the world is to rollerblade. I love speed skating, like through the city. I'm like Apollo Ono on those things. I do an art project, taking pictures of faces and found objects all around us. The project started in 2012. I was in Bloomingdale's in New York, and up on the wall was this handbag that looked like there was a face in it. And I pointed it out to the friend who I was with. It became this fun, delightful little hobby. I created this little book called Face It, which is a collection of the faces and found objects over the course of a couple of years. And that sort of developed into this Instagram account where I've grown a community there. So I originally met Dijon at the Passion Company event, and I was really drawn to his mission. And then I saw him again on Valencia Street. I told him about my I See Faces project, and he said, "Do you mind if I take your picture?" It felt like he really captured my soul, my essence. And I think anytime that you talk about what you're passionate about or what you're doing, what projects you're working on, and you present that on a public space, it just validates what you're doing, and it sort of holds you accountable to say, like, this is my stamp, this is what I'm interested in. Magical things have happened from that. My background is in ad sales. I did that for like 7 or 8 years, and there was always something missing there. I've come to realize that having more meaning in what I do is something that is gonna hopefully drive me to realize my best self. So I figured, what about trying to brand the idea of perspective? And so what I'm experimenting with is taking these images and putting them on like a t-shirt or a hat or a coffee mug to show people there's something extraordinary in the ordinary. There are things that we overlook that are often right in front of us, but we're just not taking the time to really see. I was coming back from like an interview, I was wearing this blazer, and I met Dijon at the farmer's market, and I had no idea he was gonna do a Souls portrait on it. I explained that I was like feeling kind of sad because Derek Jeter from the New York Yankees, who I grew up idolizing and watching, was retiring after 20 years. It felt like my childhood was over. And Dijon sort of gave me this advice. He's like, maybe it's time for you to take what you've seen in someone like Derek Jeter and embody that in the way you live your life. And maybe it's time for other people to be inspired by what you're doing. Again, perspective. It was looking at my state in a very different lens. All of a sudden, like, the world is full of possibility. The journey goes on. I'm still trying to figure out like what I'm passionate about and how to make a lifestyle around that. The thing that's driving me is the partnership with Faces SF, which is an early childhood education nonprofit. Anything I sell, I give a percentage to this nonprofit, and now that I'm teaching a workshop where I teach kids to see faces and objects, and then they find their own, and then creatively write about their perspective of what they see, I'm hoping to inspire the children through taking this dream, making it a reality. It's time to pursue something that can have greater impact on the world, I think.
So there are a couple of reasons I feel like people want to open up to me, and one, it's just because I listen to them and like pay attention. And I feel like people can tell, if you're like actually engaged with them and care about what they have to say. My ability to like see and listen has deepened by doing this project. Like listening is not something I was always very good at. I used to just run my mouth all the time. But when I realized how much you can learn by listening, I became like a sponge, like for information. You create space energetically in your field for people to fill it with whatever is like maybe blocked in theirs. I love your headdress and I love your style, and I would love to take your picture if that's all right.
Oh,
Yes. My name is Monica.
Monica,
Yeah.
Dijon.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I promise you'll look fantastic. I got you. All right, hold on. Okay, so I get little captions to go with the pictures. Okay, so tell me, what is one of your favorite things about yourself?
My resilience, my confidence, and the thrive to always want to know more about the world that I live in and who I am and my purpose.
What is your purpose?
My purpose is to do the will of Yah and to wake my people up.
You said you were very resilient. Can you tell me about one time that you were resilient?
So I went through a lot of trauma in finding where I am. At one point, all my prayers revolved around death and just taking me.
Well, what was going on?
So I was kidnapped a couple of years ago, and I was held for a year and 3 months. I was beaten regularly. I think that's just one of the experiences I went through to be a better person, to be a wiser person. And I was able to blossom from that and grow, and I grew a lot in faith as well.
That's an amazing story, and it's amazing that you're surviving and are still like so
Absolutely.
vibrant.
That's all about resilience.
Yeah, you are one of our leaders, I think.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Aw, Dijon, how cute. Thank you very much.
Are you a hugger?
I am a hugger. Come on, bring it in. You know you want one.
Thank you so much for your strength.
No, thank you.
Yeah. It's easy to get disillusioned by things or kind of distraught over what you perceive to be the difficulties in your life. But when you see other people that are just like handling way more difficult things and just kind of like taking it in stride and with grace, that's super inspiring. Another story that was really powerful was when I was in the Tenderloin, and there's this woman, she started talking to me. She was like, "You have a nice smile." And I was like, "Thanks. Why do you have that crowbar?" She just kind of like unfurled her life, which was a triple life with her work outside of the city and then taking care of her mom and son like back at her house, and then coming in to the Tenderloin to like score drugs. And she was very lucid and like very aware of the dichotomy or trichotomy of her life. And I told her what I was doing, and I was like, "Well, do you want to take your picture and share this story? And if you do, you know, a lot of people are going to see it." And she was like, "Well, maybe that's what I want." And when I did share the story, it was like people had all sorts of different reactions. A lot of people were applauding her ability to be honest, and like some people were like, are you gonna be there to take her picture when child services come, you know? And it's just like, it was a lot. You know, it was a lot. I had to think about that before I posted it, but she told me she wanted me to, and you know, I hope I did the right thing. I mean, that was the best thing I knew how to do at the time. It's just like be witness to her process.
If you just allow yourself to be who you are and you love yourself, then the world will open up to you.
My name is Eamon Armstrong. I'm from San Francisco, California, and I'm the creative director of Fest 300. And my job is to go around the world, going to the best festivals. I consider myself somewhat of a dandy, and I like dressing in fabulous clothes.
I was in love, and I was going to marry this woman because that was the story I wanted to tell about myself, and wanting them to see me as masculine and powerful and cool and successful, and this idea that if everyone sees me in a certain way, then that'll be true. I felt a powerful sense that I had not fully explored who I was. Deciding to leave that relationship was one of the most difficult things I've ever done. I was learning about myself in this really raw, tumultuous, emotional way. I did a meditation ceremony that was really profound for me. I started to discover something I'd always known was there, which is a very powerful feminine energy. I had suddenly come to a level of self-acceptance and self-love that I never had before. I'm a powerful man with traditional masculine ambitions and desires, and I love to seduce beautiful women. And equally, I'm also a pretty girl. You know, like, I like being pretty. I like dressing in fabulous clothes. I like being the object of attention in the way that a beautiful woman is. What I found is that the more I began to not just accept, but embrace and welcome that aspect to myself, the more I began to experience a power that was far beyond what I could tap into in this traditional sort of masculine self. It was at this time, in the midst of all of these realizations, that I went to Envision Festival in Costa Rica. I was there as a journalist on assignment for Fest 300, and I was embedded with a group called the Zendo Project, doing psychedelic first aid. Right as I had embraced this feminine part of myself, I was immediately put into an environment where I got to use that maternal quality to care for other people. And then I ran into Dijon. I mentioned this idea of the maternal experience of care, and he was like, oh, I want to talk about that.
And it's been an incredible experience for me just to calm myself and to anchor myself and just hold space and be with people who are going through really profound, difficult experiences.
I just felt really open with him, and I told him that, that I'd been wrestling with a queer identity and with a gender identity. That exploration has suddenly become very fun and very fluid and very open. I was like, I like being a multicolored bird, and it's radical self-acceptance, and that's what I'm working on. It was the first time that I was really vulnerable in that way and publicly. Being able to put myself out there moved me along in my confidence hugely. But it also, I could feel that it affected people. Like almost 1,000 people liked this on Facebook. Someone said, he's my spirit animal. And I thought, wow, what a great thing to be able to be a role model for someone else who's going through the difficult journey that I've been going through. And I felt a great sense of pride for that, and I felt a great sense of sort of duty, and it's helped me to really grow into a leader. If I can be fabulous and feminine and emotional and weird and all of these things and still be a total badass and like run a company, and then I can show that this is me embracing myself completely and this is the result that I've gotten, then I can be someone's spirit animal.
We are here in beautiful Costa Rica. It's a pretty magical place. I had a really beautiful time at Envision, but it's challenging to stay up all day and all night, partying, dancing. And during the day, I was doing soul, so I was like connecting with people, which is beautiful, but it takes a lot of energy. And because it was a 3-day festival, I was trying to get as many done as possible. So I just want to recuperate.
It's been a really intense trip. Shifting relationships with my partner. My friend got in a car accident where a motorcycle hit his car and the guy flipped over. And in the last 36 hours, I got the stomach virus. I think I'm emotionally just kind of overwhelmed. I've been living an extreme life for the past 5 years or so while I've been doing this project, because I connect with so many people. And it's definitely facilitated a lot of evolution and spiritual growth. I also feel really fucking tired. And like after all these extreme experiences on this trip alone, I just like want to break. Exhausted. My soul is tired. So many connections to different human beings. You know, like Annie is one. I've never felt feelings as strong for another person as I feel for her. You have such a deep partnership and connection, and then all of a sudden that's just like over. It really like exploded me into a trillion pieces. It's challenging to have all these connections where your heart feels so like tethered to all these different people, but your life is not actually aligned with theirs. Or maybe it is, but only for brief amounts of time. I could also feel like these points of pain that had been exposed. I'd just be like walking around crying because I was feeling so much. It feels really intense. Probably somewhat depressed. Those experiences bring you to a place of softness that you can only reach once you've been really broken. It instills a different type of humility in you. A friend of mine gave me this book, Journey of Souls, right before I came on this trip. And I've been reading it, and it's about how, you know, souls play different roles in each other's lives, and like they recognize each other based on the light in the eyes. So I feel like I'm doing this big data bank, creating this big data bank so that souls can help each other find each other like soulmates. You know, because it's already happened once where I feel like two people found each other through the project. And I feel like if more people are doing this, then other souls will be able to recognize each other. But it feels like a lot to carry right now. The beauty of the way these people describe the spirit world and how peaceful it is, it kind of makes me want to go there. Kind of feel like I want to go home right now. So over the course of doing this project, I've slept in cars, I've had to borrow money from friends, I've been homeless, and now this project has a community of 150,000 people in 45 countries. On the street, I also witnessed a lot of suffering. That kind of got inside of me, and I got really depressed. I remember talking to my mom, and I think she could hear it in my voice, because that's what mothers do. And she came out to visit. And I think you can see what she did, right? Like, she just gave me her mother's love and energy. And once again, that like awakened my consciousness and took me to another level. I realized that she was full of her own psychedelic, mystical energies. And after that, life became more vibrant and colorful. I felt like I had discovered the secret of life, and people would kind of silently acknowledge when I would walk around. You know, people like smile and nod, do that thing, they're just like, yeah. And with that level of internal comfort that I had developed, I was able to hold space for other people's awakening and just listen. To me, broke new ground today. It was the first time I've gone out shooting with another person to be a part of this project. Budding storyteller, Christina. I showed her some of the things I do to engage with people and take pictures and like let her get out there, and she did a great job talking to a new person and opening them up, getting their story. Okay, so you see how the background is still in focus?
Barely.
Yeah, all right, let me show you something. It's all about what you're trying to show. The style that I've developed is focused on the soul, which is like the light that's coming from the eyes. So I have a very shallow depth of field, and the way the camera like grips someone's face is different depending on the aperture and how far away you are from them.
Right.
Technically, anyone can take like a photograph with the correct settings, but what's really important is, you know, how you engage energetically with the person.
Right.
So from the second I start, you know, you like make eye contact and you smile, and like right now I'm like sending you a lot of energy.
Right.
And you're getting an idea about who I am because I'm looking you in the eyes and I'm smiling. And it doesn't even matter what I'm saying, you know? You'll take a full body first, right? It's because you're getting someone used to being in front of the lens. And then you can like inch in, right? So you just laugh.
Okay.
Because it kind of tickles people that you're like
Coming so
close.
Yeah.
That's the moment. Like that's when you're taking the picture.
Can I practice on you?
Yeah.
Cool. Can we?
Yeah, you got the gleam in the eye. Also known as the soul.
I kept waiting for it too. It would give me little flashes. It's kind of like capturing a bug.
Yeah. Other things to think about are the types of questions you ask people. Sometimes like to start with easy questions, like what is special to you about fashion, you know, and then just ways to pull at depth, you know, like since you're a fashion person, could you tell me about like why it's relevant or why it's just not some superficial thing? You know, everyone's an expert about something, so getting them to give their expertise about whatever it is they're passionate about. If I am gonna ask someone a challenging question, like what's a difficult moment in your life and what did you overcome? If they share that, then I try to ask them a light question to go away on, you know, like what's your favorite thing about yourself?
Yeah.
So that when they leave, their mind is in like a happy place.
Right.
The whole point is you wanna be like giving people positivity with the whole interaction. So it was like passing off a way of seeing and engaging with the world from a new angle, or helping someone else to define their vision, and you know, using my style as like a building block, but hopefully, you know, she'll find her own way of seeing the world and communicating that with people. And we just have a richer overall picture of what our, you know, community and society is like.
One of the things Dijon told me about interacting with people is to stay present, emitting this kind of love frequency actively with your vibrations, give them this like powerful energy force. Kind of gave me the feeling like, oh, like what? Why would you like want to talk to me? Like maybe it doesn't happen to him often that people just approach him and just want to know about him.
I got to watch her engage in her first Souls interview, which was really nice. Beautiful presence, beautiful spirit. That was your first?
That was really cool. He was very receptive. Just spilled his whole life story, like immediately, right away.
People want to be listened to, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
How does it feel?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
After you're engaged with someone like that, both of you walk away from that interaction feeling like you just took a life shower, I guess. You feel really...
I realized that I wanted it to be more than just my perspective and my art. So the project is now Souls of Society, and the goal for that is for there to be storytellers in every community all around the world. You saw how stoked it was when she talked to that guy, right? She like energized him. He was like, oh, you want to know something about me? And it's like, yeah. You know, and if that's the way people are interacting and that's how we choose to entertain each other is by caring and like listening, then I think that's a pretty cool future for society.
Everything's so fast-paced in this society, and everything's a little impersonal.
Perhaps we don't actually engage with each other as we walk down the street.
The reality is we're all human.
To me, what Souls represents and really helps me see is just for us to get off our phones and look around.
To see life in others.
Look at people in their eyes and smile.
And see what kind of magic can happen from that.
Acknowledging at least that everyone is looking at things through their own point of view helps you to be more compassionate and understanding.
And that brings us together as humans.
You're a part of this community now.
That snapshot is a big part of that time in my life.
In my photos, I just shine from inside out.
It was incredibly validating for me to be shown that way to a community that was so loving.
It definitely left a profound impact on how I perceived myself in the city.
For someone to want to see the depth of you,
it kind of elevates everyone.
Sort of unravels the essence of us within just a couple of questions.
It's like, hey, you're a part of this documentation of what it means to represent energy of people living in this city.
Someone commented that I inspired them.
Projects like these that provide love and healing and validation and support are changing the world.
He's taken so many pictures of so many people.
He's documenting our collective awakening.
You get to sort of connect, if even for a moment, with another soul.
I became like some vehicle for conversation or understanding, you know, for people all over the world.
And you realize that you're not the only one out there.
I was blown away. Like, really, you want me to be a part of this? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, you like my soul?
I've always been someone who felt like there was more going on than I was being taught in school. Like, I was just like, what are we doing here? Like, on this planet type of sense, like, what is going on? I've always been a seeker, like, looking for answers to those questions. And I feel like when I started doing this project, I really tapped into spirit and really got guided on furthering that path. This project started when I saw kind of a spark in someone's eye and then, you know, took a picture of it, and it gave me information that I needed to hear at that time. I follow the spark in people's eye because ultimately we're all animated by the same source. So when you slow down enough to really connect and look at people, like, you can see that same energy coming out of everyone's eyes. You're transferring very high vibrational cellular memory information from your soul to their soul. And that's why it feels so intense to maintain eye contact with someone. It's like a download, like a literal download of information. So if you engage to that level of depth, then it's like a personal message system from the source of all it is, and it just tells you what you need to hear at that time. And it helps them to remember the depth of their being and that they're more than just the current human incarnation that they're experiencing at this moment. And evolution is limitless, you know? There's always more. There's always higher levels, higher vibrations, pure forms of love and light to experience. The work for each of us is to cultivate our relationship with ourselves, to figure out what our direction is, to really go deep and expand. My overall goal for this project is to inspire people to connect with each other, to connect with themselves, to be compassionate, to listen, and just be interested in each other, you know? Like, we're all on this amazing journey. We're all the hero of our own story, and the answers and the clues that we're looking for to get to like the next chapter, the exciting part, is embedded in the people next to you. I hope that my experience doing this project has shown how beautiful it can be just to take interest in people, and everyone has access to that. Anyone can talk and be vulnerable, and that's the key.